Hey everyone, welcome back to another SAT math video. This is a question from the 2024 Test Bundle 6 official from the College Board website. Let's get into it. At the time that an article was first featured on the homepage of a news website, there were 40 comments on the article. An exponential model estimates that at the end of each hour after the article was first featured on the homepage, the number of comments on the article had increased by 90% of the comments on the article at the end of the previous hour. Which of the following equations best represents this model, where C is the estimated number of comments on the article T hours after the article was first featured on the homepage, and T is less than or equal to 4. Oh my gosh, there's so many words in this. How the heck were we gonna figure it out? Lucky for you, your boy got your back on the SAT. So we're gonna break it down real quick and show you how to solve it. It looks a lot harder than it is, but it actually is very simple. You don't even have to do any math. You just need to understand how exponential equations work, right? So let's say we have this equation, right? We have C and it's going to be times some constant 40, right? And the part that we need to figure out is like this part right here, right? We need to figure out what it goes inside the parentheses here, right? So we have some unknown and then it gets raised to the t power. So when you have exponential equations like this, the first thing you need to understand is this exponential equation increasing or decreasing? And I'll tell you why, right? And in this case, it's increasing, but I'll explain both cases right now. So say we have an exponential equation that's increasing, right? We would have some constant like x, and then if it was increasing, that means that you would have the previous value, or in this case, like the value from the last hour, plus, and then that would be like increased by a certain percentage, right? So we would basically have 1 plus some rate all raised to like an exponent y, right? Again, the variables don't really matter, but the important thing here is when you have an exponential equation that is increasing, you always will have within this parentheses 1 plus the rate of increase raised to the exponent. Whereas if you have an exponential, and okay, I'm just going to make that very clear that this is for increasing equations, right? But what if we have an equation that is exponentially decreasing, right? Well, it would be very similar. We would have like our some sort of function c times a constant x, but we would not have this 1, right? Because you can imagine that it's decreasing by some rate, and whenever you have an exponential that is like decreasing by a rate, you're just taking like a percentage of that, which means you're taking some portion of the previous whole, right? So you would just have a rate. Hopefully that's making sense. If not, let me know in the comments because I'll try and explain it better. So that is for rates that are going down, right? So in our instance, we care about this one, right? Because remember, they're telling us that the comments on the article increased by 190%, right? So there's our first clue. We know that we're dealing with an equation that is exponentially increasing. So all we need to do now is figure out by what percentage is this exponentially increasing. Well, they already kind of told us that, right? They told us it's increasing by 190%. How could we write 190% as a decimal? Well, very easily, we can just, divide it by 100 because that's kind of how percents work, right? So we just divide that by 100, cross those out. 19 divided by 10 is going to be 1.9. So you might be like, oh my God, Amar, is this the answer? B is the answer. Well, you would be fooled and you'd get cooked by the SAT because they're trying to put that there to trick you. Because remember, this is an exponentially increasing equation, right? So we figured out our rate, but remember, we need to do 1 plus the rate, right? So that means our equation would be 40 times 1 plus our rate, which is 1.9, raised to t, or in other words, it was going to be c is equal to 40 times 2.9 t. So which answer is that? That would mean our answer is D. So there you have it. And that's all we need to do for this question. Again, not a lot of math really needed. More so, you just needed to do a little bit of theoretical thinking on how exponential equations work. The main thing you need to know is how exponential equations that increase work and what format they take. So always the main thing here to remember is when an exponential equation is increasing, your rate that appears within the parentheses of the equation, that is always going to be 1 plus some rate raised to the exponent. And if it's decreasing, it will just be the rate itself. So there you have it. That's all we're going to do for this one. Let me know if there's any way I can improve these videos in the comments. I'm always trying to make these as clear as possible. Check out Khan Academy. I plug it every single video because it's a great resource for SAT and ACT and a plethora of other subjects. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.